I'd like to call a meeting to order. This is a regular meeting, Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, July 8th, 2020. And I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We welcome all our guests here today. Thank you for coming. First item is the approval agenda. I do have some additions to make. Under consent agenda 2A, under minutes, I'd like to add the May 13 regular meeting of the Moose Lake City Council. And under May 27, a special meeting of the Moose Lake City Council. Then moving down into 6E, under new business, if you put a line through that 2nd Street infiltration pond and put PD administrative position. Then also under new business, 6G, ATV complaints. Then under 6H, water in the park, and Walter will explain that when we get to it. Do I have any other changes or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, a motion to accept the agenda?
So made.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on, number 2, consent agenda. Under minutes, the two that we just added, the May 13th and the May 27th. Do I have any questions or comments on the minutes? And if you need time to read through them, give a few minutes. Otherwise, I'll wait for a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under consent agenda 2B, we have financial reports. Number 1, the city accounts payable for June 2020. Number 2, the city financial statements for June 2020. And number 3, the liquor store profit loss statement for June 2020. Have any comments or questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the financial reports?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3. This is public comment. This time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. Hearing none, we'll move on. Also, I should tell everybody the air conditioner for this room is out, so it's warm. That's why it's warm.
Do you have a, do you want a hot?
Unless you wanted to do it, when did you add to the agenda,
Yep.
the ATV complaints?
Yep.
So we'll wait till that time.
Yep. So hearing none, we'll move on to department reports. 4A, the police chief, department report for June 2020.
All right,
Karen, could you please?
hey, Mike, yeah, if you
Thank
could go
you,
up on
Chief.
Mike, thanks.
Thank you.
After our last meeting, I told you guys that I was gonna try to put something together a little bit break things down for an easier read instead of going through all the things there, so you can have, visual to see what time is spent where. I can read through the first part of the thing. We have a report from June 1st of 2020 through June 30th, 2020. We had 273 calls for service. 3 of those were to MSOP and 1 to Department of Corrections. In addition to the calls of service, we spent 4 hours on MSOP and 1 hour at ECRC for the Department of Corrections. The part I kind of changed a little bit here is I put what was kind of the self-initiated and then calls that we were actually responding to, so you can see the difference on where we're at. And then I added the pie chart in there where you can see extra patrol, traffic stops, calls for service, assisting other agencies, and some community engagement. Community engagement piece, we want to start seeing that one increase here, and obviously this isn't an accurate depiction of the time spent on these calls, just kind of what the calls for service are, at the moment. And of course, the summer months here and things are, going up, but if you can look at some of those calls for service, it's like for extra patrol and those kinds of things there. Katie and I talked, and I had some of the question on why are we creating calls for service for our regular patrol type thing. Well, some of those originate from a complaint. We're having speeders, going down this area here, or this is going on over here, and we'd like extra patrol. So then we create those calls for service for those, so that when they do call and maybe have a complaint, we haven't seen anybody out here, this day we were here. But it's not that, and I tried to have that conversation that we're not going to be creating a bunch of other calls for service, that Quick Trip or wherever else, and getting that number up there. We want a real depiction of what we're doing and what the calls are. So that's kind of why I changed a little bit for you, and if you like that format, I'll continue to go with that, and I can add some more things as we go. After the last meeting and your approval to go ahead with the part-timers, we're able to put 2 more on right now that really enables us to do the scheduling. We are filled right now with all of our holes in the schedule all the way through to the first of the year, with part-time eliminating any of the overtime on that. And that was a big issue for a while, and we had an incident where somebody that put in for all the shifts couldn't take them, and it was a mess and some overtime for a bit, but now we're pretty level. The 2 partners also, part-timers bring in, they're both firearms instructors. That's going to eliminate us contracting outside for somebody to come in and do our firearms qualifications. We'll do that in-house now. So we're getting more and more things put into place, and we'll talk about a little bit more when we come to some of the policy stuff later. We've also implemented some other changes on, reducing some of our costs as far as leaving those cars running, they need to be shut off, and just some other things that we can do to, and we had a meeting with all of the officers and went through some of the things, like our expectations and where we're going to go moving forward. And I think we've met and talked on a few things as well, and I think they're going in the right direction. And if you have any questions, we'll get into more here a little bit later, but that's pretty much it on where we're at.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Council have any questions?
So, give you 6 months.
What's that?
Give you 6 months.
Thank you, Terry. Please pass a thank you on to the group. Appreciate that.
Well,
Public Works.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, another busy month. June went by awfully quick. So we'll start with the water department. A month ago, from right now, I told you that about a month from then, meaning roughly today, we would be starting production wells of new wells. Well, it turns out the night after I walked out of here, they called me and said they were going to start on Monday. So the production wells are in. Test pumping is now completed. Actually, it was going to be done at 4 o'clock. So all of that is completed. We're waiting on samples. Other than that, everything looks good. Matt might have some more to touch on that, but I don't know. But yeah, so that's done. Things are looking good. It went very well. And so far, I am very happy with what I see. The water department this month distributed 5.2 million gallons drinking water in the month of May. That is up 1 million gallons for the month. I'm assuming we're doing a lot of extra watering. Hopefully we'll see that or catch that on the billing here in a couple weeks. Sewer department collection, we collected 10.3 million gallons of wastewater in the month of May. Treatment system, we had a 41 million gallon wastewater discharge. That was scheduled for June to be done. All the parameters were met. Everything looks good. Everything came back fine. We're set up looking really good for the fall. So the sewer lining project is complete. You guys all have a little piece of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it's pipeliner is what it is. That is what now is in the pipe. I am extremely impressed with that product. That is unbelievable stuff. I have been very happy with the engineer and as well as the contractor. I was extremely happy with that. So you guys spend a lot of money on this, and you don't get to see any of it, so now at least you all get a little piece like a
You want to
PJ.
show the public since you're on?
I sure can, like on board.
Yeah, just show it up so they can see it on the camera how thick it is and what they paid for.
So this is what we paid for. It was just over $100,000, and we did 623 feet of it. This has a 50-year, roughly a 50-year life expectancy, Matt? Yes. And I was totally impressed with the entire process, everything. It was unbelievable. By far, like I was telling Matt, this is by far the best project I've been involved in since I've been here. Unbelievable.
It was fast. It was really fast.
Yeah, it
Start
was
to
like
finish, it was
20.
like a week.
Oh, but the actual process itself was like 26 hours or something. It was unbelievable.
You know, the good part, and maybe you know top yet, how much did this save?
In one day, and we're dry. One day it was 10 to 15,000 gallons a day, and we're dry. We shouldn't even been able to see anything yet. So this is
Saving a lot of money.
this is huge. This is really huge for our community. So this is awesome. Quarterly sewer cleaning is done. That was completed last week. We do have 2 stretches. I'm sorry, this week it was completed. We do have 2 stretches left right on the highway, which we're just kind of waiting for traffic to slow down for the 4th of July. We'll make those 2 shots later this week or beginning of next week, and that'll be done. The bridge lift station grinder is back up and running and in service. The panel that was in there was installed last week and has been working just fine. That was taken up from a power outage here about a month and a half ago. So, street department pothole filling is usually completed. Gravel streets and alleys, we made a pass on them last month. They need a little work. We're going to get on them next week and make things look nice again. And other than that, cemeteries, mowing, weed whipping, and everything else there. So that's all I got.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
you did say it's saving us a lot of money on this lining. What was the bid or what would it cost to put in new pipe? I think that's another thing that should be, was it over $1 million or something of that nature? Or what?
Oh, it wasn't that much. I don't have that memo with me, but we did an estimate of both a full replacement with manholes and a lining project. Because of the amount of restoration you would have had on this case, the lining was a little bit cheaper, at least from an estimate standpoint, so that's what we proceeded with. But you would have to shut down a highway, as you can imagine. And so we look at those things as well, even though it's maybe not costing, detouring a highway is kind of a big deal as well.
Thank you.
You know, I kind of remember it seemed like it was 1/3 the cost doing this than, yeah, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head when we had all those discussions, but that's how much we saved. or something like that.
I was thinking maybe more like a half of the cost.
It's a
Well, I
while
did that
back
estimate
since
like
we
6
went
months
over
ago, and I just can't
It was
remember. I think
substantial.
It was substantial, though.
Yeah.
Ripping up a concrete highway is substantial work.
And your completion time, like I said, I mean, from when they started to finished, I think it was like 26 hours. Granted, they came back and did the manholes 2 days later, but boom, done. And before I went to bed that night, we were back up and running the existing plant. So pretty neat.
And with this, one more thing is, it's 50 years life expectancy. We were kind of blindsided a little bit as far as funding. I'd like us to have something every year that we either putting a line item in there, a little bit of money going towards it so we have money to do something else, or just so that another city council down the line doesn't get into the same problem.
Thank you for it. Please pass on the crew, thank you.
I will.
Yes, sir.
Technology and library report.
I don't have anything for library, for technology. Rory got his new computer a couple weeks ago, maybe. And other computers will be installed Monday, Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday of next week. Rory, any comments on the ABI system?
We're getting stuff loaded on the new equipment, getting ready to switch over. And the other thing, we have been running on channel 7, or no, channel 18, bingo for the seniors on Tuesday and Friday, and also exercise tapes. So we're gonna try to get the feedback and see how that's all going, but I know there's been requests, especially Augustana-wise, to
to try to provide stuff for the seniors, and if the bingo thing goes good, we're gonna try to get cards distributed out to like the manors and things like that too, but seems like it's a great idea, and there's lots of ideas for the future on that too, and especially when we get the new equipment on board where we can actually schedule things at, what we've been doing it is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which seems to be a good time for the seniors, so pretty cool what, you know, and a lot of things in the future.
Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it. City engineer.
So Matt is here to go over a couple of things in the engineer report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's nice to see some real people. I'm kind of getting burnt out of go-to meetings because that's my new life, so I will say it was kind of nice to get in my car and drive somewhere. We did meet, as we do every month, on July 1st. There should be the minutes, I believe, in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions you have from them. There's just 3 items that I kind of wanted to hit on out of that packet. The first is the bids for the well pump house itself. We received last week. On purpose, we are not ready to make a recommendation of award tonight because we're awaiting the full water test results that Phil mentioned just a few minutes ago. We expect to get those in about 2 weeks. And the reason that is important is depending on what comes back, there might be a couple of tweaks or changes that we would make to that pump house. So that's the reason we plan to make a recommendation at your next meeting. A couple of things with that is one, Johnson Wilson was initially the low bidder. I think you have a letter in your packet. Within hours of opening the bids electronically, they sent you and SCH a letter that said, "We apologize, but we made a material error in our bid and we wish to withdraw our bid." The reason they do that is because we do have the right to keep their bid bond. There's a reason we require bid bonds because it costs us money to do this. However, in standard contract documents, including the ones that we put together for you, it does say that within, I forget, 7 days or 5 days, if you have a material error, we will return your bid bond. And in this case, they completely missed a line item. We feel it's material. So I have no reason. I've talked with Katie and the mayor already. I would recommend that you return their bid bond. So then we would be eventually making a recommendation of what are the other bidders on that project. So that letter should be in your packet tonight.
I just gave it to you guys.
So we need to make a motion on this item
To reject.
to reject their bid. So before you go on, we might as well cover that item.
And it should be, I guess, to reject their bid and return their bid bond based on a material error they made.
I'll make a motion to reject this bid that you have in front of us. Is it Johnson Construction?
Johnson Wilson.
Johnson Wilson Construction, and return the bid bond.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. The other thing, again, related to the water quality, Phil mentioned our test pumping just ended, but we'll be getting our full water tests back, like I said, in about 2 weeks. So preliminary results, we had the well driller do some preliminary stuff with their own lab the day they drilled them. So just to give you an idea, there's 2 things we look at: water quality and water quantity. From a water quantity standpoint, your 2 existing wells put out about 400 gallons a minute, and that's what we were looking for on the 2 new wells. We ended up about 10 feet shallower than your existing wells and got 600 gallons a minute. So from a quantity standpoint, we're ahead of the game with the 2 new wells, which we're calling well 3 and 4. The other thing that we looked at just very preliminarily was iron and manganese. Those are 2 items that the Department of Health and EPA don't have actual rules on, but they have guidelines of kind of where they want them to be for primarily an aesthetic standpoint. Of course, iron, as you know, makes your water have the red stains. Manganese is what makes it have the black stains. So your existing well 1, your iron is at 100, your manganese is at 15. Your existing well 2, your iron's at 14, your manganese is at 120. So you're running an average, you pump 50-50, so you're running probably, in that 75 range on manganese and lower on the iron. Your well 3 that we just drilled came back with iron at 72 and manganese at 5, so quite a bit lower, which is good news there. Well 4, the iron was up at 100, matching your well 1, but the manganese came in at 275, which is a little bit higher than your existing well 2, well, double what your existing well 2 is. So we're waiting for the full test results to see, just to confirm that number after they've had their 24-hour pump downs, etc. Again, that becomes more of an aesthetic issue than anything, because you're already pumping manganese through your line. So we're going to be looking at that as what options we have as far as varying pumps. Instead of doing 50-50, you can do 70-30, 80-20. There's other things that we can look at. So when we get those results, we're going to look at that. We'll have our group meeting, and then we'll be prepared to make recommendations at the next council meeting. So the last thing I wanted to hit on in the meeting minutes is, you probably saw in there your Sioux Line Trail. I had made an application on your behalf to the DNR Local Trail Program. We were successful, and you got a $150,000 grant. And we're going to try to get that done yet this fall. That is for the short portion of trail between North Road and Highway 27. It's the joint paved and ATV. So anyway, good news. We were successful getting another grant, and we're going to try to get that out and have it built in October, so it's ready to go. Yeah,
That's
you're
good
welcome.
news.
It always is.
Yeah.
Everyone likes free money, right?
And next year they could hold that big bike-a-thon that comes through, because otherwise they're gonna send, how many thousand?
They send them right downtown.
Right down through town, a couple thousand bikers.
So they'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So that trail being done, they can do the bypass and go by the depot now. That's huge.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry.
We got you here, we better take advantage of it here. Anyone?
So just so you guys know, we will have the, hopefully we will have the recommendations from SEH on the well house in August meeting. But we just wanted to hang on to that so we could get some information from the test pumping. So just the timing of it didn't work out, but.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it. Next under is item is the Chamber of Commerce updates. Kate and I were at the meeting. You got anything you want to pass on?
They are doing one for sure in-person event. It's just gonna look a little differently, but the Nine and Dine at the golf course, and then it was kind of cool. They're doing like a virtual golf event. I'm not really sure how it's gonna work, to be honest, but
They're planning that, I think, for later.
yeah, for like September. Yeah, September-ish.
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of nice, but everything else has kind of been canceled. So
We did talk a little bit about September 5th, about holding the parade that we normally do at the 4th of July, and the events at the park, and the fireworks at night. And we're holding off to do a final vote where the chamber is until the August meeting to see where the state is on this whole COVID thing. And if it looks promising, then they would vote on holding the parade, and we would try to go ahead with the fireworks and events in the park, where there's big blow-up things for the kids and that kind of stuff. But still we just don't have enough information from the state on where we'll be. I think that right now you can gather 250 people at an event.
Yeah,
So we're still kind of a crazy thing where we're at. But next month, the final vote would be done, decision on all those events. And we pass it on to the council, of course, the next day. Well, they're holding meetings the same day as ours. I mean, just for your information and for the community also. And moving on to previously discussed business, infiltration pond.
So this was that pond that got a lot of attention on 2nd Street, that we had the engineers, I had them kind of put together a little map of what it would look like in front of the police department, and I'll let you explain.
No problem. So there should be a handout in your packet that looks something like this. Just to give you a very quick background, when you do a new construction project in the state of Minnesota, the MPCA has rules in place that are state rules that you can't get around. And one of them states if you add 1 acre or more of new impervious surface, you have to do some kind of water quality treatment, i.e. a pond, underground structure, a rain garden, or something like that. So this is not a pick on Moose Lake, this is statewide no matter what project we do. In this case, our trail project is adding about 1.2 or 1.3 acres of new impervious. So we have to abide by those rules as well. When we get into a trail project, they're a little more difficult because they're really, really long and skinny, and you can't do a continuous pond, or you can't do a series of 6 ponds. Phil would hate me if I did that to him because it's a whole bunch of them, and access becomes an issue when all he has to do is access from a trail. So that's how the 2nd Street one came up at first. Excuse me. That got rejected for a number of reasons, including some council reasons. Then we looked at the hockey arena site as well, which actually on paper looks good, but we've got some bad soil concerns just from infiltration that we know of down there. And because of it's so close to the river, the flooding that could potentially happen would not work for water quality treatment. So the site that you see in front of you now, which has come from recommendations of your staff, is over at the police station. That is about the size of the pond that you would need. Because this is water quality only, it would not necessarily be a wet pond, meaning you wouldn't always have to have a permanent pool of water sitting in it. It's going to be more for water quality and infiltration. So at this point, we're getting to a point in design that we need to be able to move forward with a location. And so we think, based on Phil's, Katie, and the mayor's thoughts at our regular meetings, that this is probably the best site that we have. We know it works from a grade standpoint, and I believe, Katie, you've reached out to police and fire, and they've
Yes.
mentioned that is kind of an unusable area for them right now.
Yep, I just talked to Austin Berg, and he said that they cannot use this for building anything. So he didn't see it was a huge issue, but it may be something that I go to the fire board meeting at their next meeting, just to make sure.
So at this point, I don't know that I need an actual motion on this one. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up to make sure that we're okay with this, because this is how we plan to proceed with our final design of the trail project.
I should tell the council too, and the community, we looked at every site that we have in the city for open property, like down on A Street, we have a plan that we have to mow because of the flood. Looked at, well, at the bottom, let's see, that would be the bottom of 7th, we looked at 8th, we looked at the North Road area, just about every place we could, and there was always something that wouldn't work. It was either elevation or soil or not enough room or whatever. So we kind of got down to the last spot that it could possibly go in and work, and it so far looks like everything is falling in place for it. Just so you know, we looked at all possibilities. Even looked at the made the suggestion of the land up that the school has in the development, but we cannot build one on future development projects. It has to be current, I guess, right now.
Correct.
Well, and I guess I'd like to see it out of residential or your potential residential areas.
Excuse me, thank you.
Okay,
Please.
I think I might be next on the agenda too, so I'm just gonna stay here.
You are.
Yes. Under new business, televising wells 3 and 4.
Okay, so this is, it's actually televising the old city well that has not been in place, or not been in service for a long time. As part of our well house project, Phil made it clear kind of upfront that we have this existing structure that has become somewhat of a liability for the city. And right next to it, there is still a well that is still connected to that old structure that could potentially, if something were to break, i.e. a valve, you would have a very large mess on your hands. The well abandonment was not included in our bids we just had on purpose because you have DNR and others that are currently using that as a monitoring well. And so a couple of weeks ago, we've got email confirmation from everyone that we are going to abandon it and they can go monitor at a different location. So what we did is we reached out to Trout and asked them to give us a price to go televise it because we don't know what's down there, no one has any record of it, and we don't know what it's going to take to abandon it. So this is a quote for $600 just to televise it so we can look at it and know what needs to happen, abandon it, put an abandonment plan together, and then put that out for bid. Just to give you an idea, the televising that Trout is doing for you right now is $1,400 a well, so you are saving all of their mobilization, I believe, and all of their camera equipment time. So you're probably not going to ever get it any cheaper than this one, is what I'm trying to say in a nice way. So I'd recommend that you allow this to probably be a change order into that existing contract with Trout for the additional televising of the old city well.
This is the well where the old water tower was, in that little old building. So we're looking for a motion for $600, correct?
If you want to give me permission, I can also approve it. I just kind of wanted to get your guys' input on this too. Let you guys know. They're already here, so instead of us going out for bids and making Phil
Do we
do
have
some more
consensus?
calls.
It is under the
Yeah.
2,000. Do we have consensus?
Yes.
So
So go.
okay, just so we know, they are actually doing it $150 an hour, but they said 3 to 4 hours of time, so that's where I came up with the 600, so it could be slightly less.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item. This is a item for the police department.
Yes.
Correct. Do you want me to?
Go ahead.
All right, hopefully you guys got the packet already and we've had a little bit of time to look at it. I know I've talked to some of you about it already. I know one of the things when I was hired here is we were going to look at reducing risk, liability, educating, training our officers better, and getting up to date with policies and training. I've been in contact with Lexipol. It's an international company. I've actually listened to the owner of the company speak in person, and it's just great information. The policies that they put forward right now are through a staff of attorneys, law enforcement professionals, and it's based on Minnesota specific. So we could start out with like 170 different policies. It's a web-based design, so the officers can go from their cars. There's an app for your phones, anywhere to access this, which is great if they're out on the scene and they need something. As you're well aware, our policies are very outdated and we need to get those up into place. And with the ever-changing stuff that's going on nowadays, I think if we move forward into this product, it'll set the city up well into the future, that it's going to constantly be changes. So when we get those changes, it'll come to me and I'll be able to look at, okay, this is the suggested policy change, and it'll be highlighted compared to the old one, so you don't have to spend a bunch of time trying to see where did they make the change. And I can either, or we can, as we decide, we'd rather go this way, and we're gonna make this tailored to our department. We have the ability to do that. And then when we go to hit the approve, it goes out to all the officers. When they go in to check, it's the date, time, and stamp that they received the policy. Currently, several of the officers, we've got different policies floating around that really aren't up to date, and we need to get, control of it. I really think if you look in the long run for this stuff here too, if I was to go sit down and try to retype all these policies and research what's the best practice, and send it to an attorney to review, we're gonna be up there in cost. I was able to talk to him, if you look at the price on here now, and I don't know if we had it included in here, we had it down, it was like $3,400 annually, but I said, would you prorate that because our year starts from January to that? I said, yeah, we do that. So it gives us time to implement the program. If we want, we can go ahead and print out the policy and save it, and then decide, is this something we want to keep doing? Another thing that's beneficial is every day they come out with a training brief that's 2 minutes long that goes to every officer that's on our thing here, and then they receive up to 12 post credits from Minnesota, for part of their training. So it's going to limit some of the other things that we need to send people to training to, and it's going to keep us up to date and current on any of the high profile type things that are going on. So I think with the money we spend now, it's really going to reduce the risk to the city, to the officers, and it's just going to make us better. And Doug, you're probably familiar with Lexipol and even some of their programs, and they do a lot more there with the Police One and a lot of different types of trainings. But yeah, I think it's a great program. I sat through with the tutorial with them and all the things that we can do with it, and it's nice because a lot of these things are usually based for these big departments. And even though it does provide that to a lot of the departments, there's a lot of small agencies on there as well too, and it's priced because of the size of our agency. And they were able to, I said, we got a lot of part-timers too, and they were able to throw them on with no more charge to it, because we still want to get them up to date. I wanted to stay somewhat similar to Carleton County because we work with them all the time. So we need to stay somewhat balanced, but I want to protect us. And so my recommendation would be to move forward with this. Hopefully you got a little time. This is just kind of a brief snapshot that we sent out to you. But if anybody wanted, and like Katie, we could sit down and do the tutorial with them again like I did. And once you see it and the things that it's capable of, for the price, I really think it's a move in the right direction.
So what is the final price for it?
$1,701 for this year, and then I would assume next year it will be the,
Back to
The 3402.
so. And I would agree, I think that this is a quick way to get our policies up to date, and then if we want to go in and, tailor things a little bit more specifically to our area, we can do that. But I do think that what Darren said, with everything that's going on, I think that policy and laws are going to be changing quite rapidly. So if we're going to expect to stay on top of those, that will be quite timely or take a lot of time and expensive. So this is I think this is a good program.
When I heard the age of some of our policies from the early 1990s and all the
Yep.
laws that have changed since then, on all levels, that I guess we don't really have much of a choice. We have to update. Yes, sir.
I'd also say that Carleton County has been doing policies consistently for the last decade. And
So
that's
we're
the
way
sheriff
ahead.
and the chief deputy constantly are doing the policy, they don't have Lexipol. So either you do something that's standard and they do the work, or you're constantly doing it. Because everything changes so fast in the field.
And the nice thing is too, is when they do have a change, they give you the justification on why and the best practices nationwide, but yet all of this is Minnesota specific. So the officer, when they look at it, this is the reasoning behind this. So we're getting a training piece along with them, reviewing the policy. So yeah, I appreciate you guys' support, and I think we're kind of thinking the same thing. We need to move us there. So it's in place well after I'm gone. I'm getting to be an old guy, so I won't be around forever, but I want to set it up, just like you mentioned earlier, so things are here. And that we're not going to get behind again.
I also like this because it gives some accountability for the officers. If we see that an officer hasn't read the last 5 updates, we can say, hey, you need to go in there and make sure you're getting in there and updating yourself on these, because if you don't know, then you don't know, but it's an accountability thing. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's long overdue, and I like that law enforcement as well as attorneys are together doing it, and I think it will serve us well now and in the future.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It's just, my recommendation. I would like to move forward with it, but again, it's a little bit of money here, but I think in the long run, it's going to save us.
Questions by the council or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Lexipol contract proposal.
1701.
1701.
Have a second? Any further questions, comments?
Is this something we can just build into the budget every year so we don't have to?
We'll have to.
I think we'll still have to bring this in, like, just because of the price of it. I don't know of another, like, subscription like this. that
What we'll
we-
do is it'll be in the budget and then we'll have to bring it to the council
Right.
for approval at the time when it's due.
Yeah.
But it can
So
just
we
be a
can-
very simple
we can-
thing and.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support because it's means a lot that we're moving forward and where we all want to be. So thanks.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir. Okay, 6C, granted inline of pay application number 1.
Yep, this is there will be one other pay application. I think Tyler was waiting on some final figures from them. So we are just holding on to the 5% retention, and then the total is $100,110.05.
The work is complete.
Yep.
We are just holding the 5% retainage because we require them to provide us IC 134s and lien waivers. And of course, they can't get those items until they've paid their subs. So this allows them to pay their subs and get all that documentation, then we'll release the final retainage.
Very good, thank you. Council, any questions and or motion?
Motion to pay the bill of $100,110.05.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6D, Mark Lampert Sand Lake Resort.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for giving me an opportunity to visit with you briefly tonight. I would classify this as a keeping you in the loop discussion with a chance to ask questions if you have any. Obviously, I'm sure you saw Sand Lake Resort down there and said, boy, why is Mark going to come and chat with us tonight? So if you'll indulge me for a minute, I am the owner of Sand Lake Resort. I purchased that 15 years ago, so like I said, it gets me to 1995. A lot of these years, it's been my only nonprofit business. I continue to subsidize that resort to try to make it into something better each year. I'm pretty proud of where it's at. We've been at it for a lot of years. We have a lot of people that come and enjoy the resort. Obviously, they come and enjoy City of Moose Lake, so there is some connectivity there as well. And so over the course of the years, I've looked at that resort. It's really kind of two parts. There's a lot of very, very old cabins that date back to the 30s, 40s, 50s that aren't really what people expect for cabins anymore. And then in order to kind of find an economic model that worked, we added a number of mobile homes over the years that have got us to the point where, we more or less break even, but that's on a good day. And so as I look down the road to say, what's our vision for that resort, I begin to kind of see something that maybe has an opportunity to redevelop the resort. What I'm thinking is probably a multi-story building, maybe more targeting senior type folks, maybe a little bit of summer rental, but that's not really the goal. The goal is continuity. Those of us who have resorts can tell you that we live very well for 3 months over the summer and we starve for the other 9. So as I look out to what we could do with that resort, I really do have a 12-month model in mind, something that would be, frankly, an asset for the community, frankly, an asset for the resort itself. So what I've done over the course of the last couple of years is start looking and watching for models that I like. And I've made some progress on ideas, and then I simply start to kind of work out from there. The very first issue I run into, frankly, is water and sewer. We've got great well water out there, but obviously we're tied into the sewer, Moose Lake Windermere Sewer District. So I made a brief stop at the district about a month and a half ago, just to say, hey, I'm starting to think about this. And I know that maybe it's gotten back to you that I've stopped there, and I wanted to make sure that I conveyed to you the message that I conveyed to them, which is, I think we've got a great opportunity to do a pretty neat development there. I think we've ballparked about 33 hookups, about 8,000 gallons a day usage. We're hoping to be in the area of probably 60 hookups, which would be about another 8,000 gallons a day. So the opportunity is there for us to look at expansion. And we went to the sewer board with that suggestion. I think, if I understand it, it's complicated at best, because I think they wind up at your doorstep before long. So realizing that sometimes you need to make sure you've got all players in on the discussions, I'm here as an FYI to say, I got a pretty good idea. I think I'm a pretty good customer. I'd like to be a better customer. And if there's a way that we can try to partner to create an opportunity to build those additional units, I sure would appreciate that. And I know that, there's a lot of discussions that have to happen, and maybe not all of them here today, and maybe not all of them anytime soon. But in order for me to even begin to continue my vision over there, I need to at least know that I've got the opportunity to have some additional capacity. Right now, with, I suspect, without your approval at some point, I don't have that ability. So as we start to walk the walk, and whatever that may be, I guess I'd ask you to think favorably about what we're thinking about down there. I was encouraged to hear the savings on that program that your engineer mentioned. That seemed to be a good deal more than what we might be asking for. So maybe there's a synergy that comes out of that as well. But I guess with that said, I'm here to do the FYI, and maybe here to hear any questions that you might have for me.
Council, any questions? Yes, sir.
So when you're talking about units, and you're talking about like one building with several units in it now.
Councilmember Cervelli, yes.
Right, are you talking like, you mentioned something about maybe like for the seniors and so on and so forth now would that be to a point where a retired senior can afford the type of units and stuff that are going in?
So there's a lot of questions in there, so let me start with what I think I know. A couple of the questions that I know are, my vision is one building, and I want the one building because that gets us the underground parking. And my vision is multi-story because that gets us the elevators. And I built buildings, and I know I can get to about 60 before I can figure out how to pay for the underground parking and the elevators. So those two kind of lead me down that path to that 60 number. The affordable issue, obviously we're not subsidized. We're not asking for any tax increment financing, just the opposite. I think we're a great taxpayer. But I think that what we find is that if we do it right, we may not be affordable, but we're approachable, right? That if we do some smaller size units that people can be in, maybe it's not a 3,000 square foot, 3-bedroom unit that they can't afford, but maybe we have some smaller 400, 500 square foot units that also give them the opportunity to be on the lake. I mean, the proposition is really pretty cool. If we can figure out how to do this, you can have some very nice people who've lived on the lake, continue to be on the lake, have access to the lake, and yet still be close to all the services that Moose Lake has.
Now, you feel that the biggest problem is going to be the amount of sewer that can be pumped into our system, because basically the ponds and stuff is our system, and we can't put any more than X amount of water and sewage into the pond.
And that's a little bit of beyond my pay grade, but I do know that that's kind of the basis of the concern. So as we talk about, where could we find 8,000 gallons per day, if there's some savings that come out of the IOI program that you guys are starting, or maybe look at helping you with your IOI program, maybe there's an opportunity to have some discussion there. And so maybe that ultimately needs to go back to you and the sewer board. And again, I guess I don't know very much about that, but I guess I do know that I need you, and I do know that I need to find a solution that could maybe give us that opportunity.
Phil and Katie and I have had some discussion, and we talked about the maximum capacity we have, and I throughout the city and try to figure out. And I know Phil is going to be looking at the savings that we gain as far as capacity with this last project we did, lining that one line that was pretty bad. So we are definitely looking at it. We're trying to find out where we're at, and it's on our mind. And we know about your project. We've heard of it, and we will be talking with the sewer district. And
And maybe there's an opportunity to have some discussion there, because I know that there's a hookup fee that's normally associated with that, and does that hookup fee stay all with the sewer board? Is there a way to discuss that on some sort of shared basis that can help with the I&I? Again, I guess I just wanted to put it out there that I think I'm a legitimate user. I think I can be a good user for the community, and I think that there's an opportunity for you to look favorably on this if we can kind of navigate the concerns with capacity, which I understand is an issue. But still, you know, is there a win-win here, I guess is where I'm coming from.
Are you looking at doing this like this year or probably next year? I would assume this year.
No time soon.
Okay.
I'm a 15-year resort owner.
Okay.
I think we're probably half filled for next summer again.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't think we're an urgent, but, you know, knowing how long things go, I'm kind of at a dead stop until I can figure out, you know, do I even have the ability to plug in? And, you know, I think we have the equivalent of about 33 hookups now, so we obviously have the opportunity to continue that or to maybe look at something different. But if we want the underground parking, if we want the elevator, you know, I need that extra count to help us get there, which is, you know, really why I'm here today. So.
Say,
we're
Mark,
definitely going to be looking at it. Go ahead,
are
please.
these going to be rentals, or are they going to be people can buy like a unit?
The current plan is rentals, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that's what I do. Two is there's just been over the years, and maybe more than you need to know, but there's just been over the years a number of litigation lawsuits that have come out of the condo associations. And so it's almost impossible to find a reputable builder that'll build one because of that fear of being sued within that first 10-year period. So almost all of the apartment buildings that you're seeing built today are done with the idea that they're going to be apartment rentals for 10 years. And then once those 10-year periods get past the whole lawsuit issue, then there's the opportunity to be condos. So I think the answer is I'm envisioning rentals, but is there a possibility down the road these could be condos? I think the answer is yes. There's a lot of opportunity for that as you go down the road. And I think frankly most people would prefer to have that.
Are you thinking short-term rentals or long-term rentals or a mix?
Probably a mix. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, we'll probably have the ability to have some, but it's the coming and going that I think is more wear and tear for us. You know, I think the other side is the risk that I have to take is, you know, will this market support 60 units today? You know, can we find 6 people here? Can we find 7 people there? There's 13. You know, if I have, you know, 50 people and I'm still short 10, well, that short-term rental is going to feel pretty good to us for a year or two until I can find those other 10. So I guess I'm looking as I go through my zoning to probably have some flexibility. I would offer to you too, I think I've just got the greatest area for that. You know, we're along the road, we've got a service road, we're next to the trail, we're down the street from you guys, we're down the street from the hospital. So I think it's a terrific area, and I hope to have that demand there, but anytime you do a development like this, there's always the risk that you can start and not find the market as deep as you hope to.
Any further questions by the council?
Done by 5 years.
I'm sorry?
You'll have it up by 5 years?
Well, I'm 57, and so I've got a good 10, 15 years yet, right? So, but some of that depends on you guys. If you can help me a little bit, you know, I'm getting close to a standstill with design. So if you guys can figure out a way to help me navigate this next link, that would sure be helpful.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that. And by the way, it was nice to have a public meeting. I've been on a lot of Zooms too, so it's
Yeah.
really wonderful. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, see ya.
Moving on to E. This was a change. It was Second Street infiltration. And now it is the PD admin position, Katie?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with infiltration. So Darren and I met with the personnel committee on last week, I think, to discuss, now that Darren's been there for a month, to discuss the needs of the administrative position. And I think what we kind of came to the conclusion was that it was needed, but maybe not full-time. So the recommendation, from what I gathered out of the personnel meeting, was that we should go forward with a part-time admin assistant. So I'm just looking for approval for that, to post that. I do have a little bit of work to do before I do that. I have Kathy's old job position description, and then she sent Darren some like new job duties with just kind of evolved over the years. So I would like to make a combination with both of those and post that, which I just haven't had time to do quite yet. So just looking for approval from.
How many hours are we looking at?
Darren and I talked about that between 20 and 25 hours per week.
Okay.
Questions, discussion with the council?
Well, you guys have all heard some of the things that I have said about the police department. Darren wasn't here for a lot of those meetings, and some of them are behind closed doors. So just some of the council members are aware of some of the things that I said. I'm still looking at trying to find a reasonable budget level for the police department, and I would like to still see some cuts made. This would be at least cutting down one position to half-time. I'm still wondering if we're still looking at going to one less patrol officer, since that's what I thought we were kind of angling towards by going and making Darren a working police chief. I just believe that we have some opportunities here to save our taxpayers and citizens some money to be used in other areas. One area is for the infrastructure, which you've all heard me talk about, the roads and the sewer and the water. Because right now the first 10 projects will take 30 years. And I don't remember exactly how many projects were on that, but it was somewhere around 60 or 80 projects. So we were looking at generations to get these projects done, and I feel that there is a need to quit kicking the can down the road and start working on some of these infrastructure problems. And I'd like to see the best use of our taxpayers' money being spent here. I am concerned about the police department. I do respect the police department, but by no means do I want to see the police department unfunded like they have called for in some of these other cities. I think that is crazy, but I would like to see our police department more affordable. Like I have said before, it's around the total property taxes that were taken in the budget for the police department, and it's over 3 times the public works department. And I was a little surprised by this, so I don't have all my notes to get into everything. I would have liked to have known that we were going to discuss this before right before the meeting started was when I found out about this. So I just want you to know that I still have concerns about that. If you feel that we need an administrative position to handle certain issues down there, I am fine with that. I do not want to see this position doing the work that the police officers can do that themselves. That's one thing that I'm concerned about. But I just wanted to put that out there again, so you guys are all still aware of my feelings. And I brought up that I'm concerned about the revenue that we are going to be taking in for this year with the COVID. Not just for the city, but for the county and the state as well. They will not be bringing in as much money with this COVID, and it's all still up in the air. We do not know how long this is all going to go on. So I'd like to see us play it safe and try to use our money as wisely as possible. And with that, that's all I have to say.
Can I just make one comment?
Yes.
I think that was, we're looking at this as a part-time to decrease, salary savings and insurance, so forth. I also think with the adding the other part-time officers, we're gonna really see a decrease in overtime. So I think we're heading in the right direction. I think it's just gonna take a little time to show us the savings that are actually going to be occurring. I do think we've discussed this in detail, and I do think there is a need for a assistant down there. But again, yes, the assistant doesn't need to do the job of the officers, and that's why I think going down to part-time really will save the city money and will work for your needs.
And I appreciate the concern, because I'm looking at it the same way you are. So when I come in here, and I've only been here a month, and we're, I think, tracking in a good direction where I think we're already going to see some savings coming up to this next year. And part of that position now is, we have that opportunity to look at it. So, okay, we need it, especially for now coming into something new and trying to get a handle on everything. Not to say that we can't reevaluate that later, to look at it, that, okay, hey, and I've already talked to the officers. Katie's been in there, we had the meetings with them, and they are going to be taking over some of these duties. Because when I was here before, we didn't have all that stuff, and the budget's really gone up. And sometimes technology drives some of that, but there's a lot of things we can do. And I appreciate the comments that that's your concern, as it should be. And I think that's probably everybody here. And our decisions are, as one of the leaders in the city, is we are going to try to reduce that to still maintain the service that the citizens here expect. So, no, I appreciate it. We're looking at every single thing that we can to drop it down, and I think we are going in the right direction. So, if there's any questions at any time, feel free to get a hold of me. But we should all be looking at that, and we are going to try that.
Yeah, one problem is that I'm not in those conversations,
Right.
so I don't really know what you guys are looking at all the time.
Right.
But as it comes up and I see stuff, is there a way for me to get this information on?
See, if you came to them, then we would have a quorum, so you can't do that.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? So
If you're not
sometimes I'm
on
wondering
if you're not on the
it's
committee, then it's like any of the other committees, the reason that the others don't go is you'd have a quorum, you'd have in essence, a closed meeting. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't like to show up at a meeting and find out the information right there, because I need to look at it and consider it for amount of time and that. But I like what you guys are saying, and I'm happy to do that, so.
I would also agree with Chris that, and we kind of talked about this, I think with the police department, it's not saving, you're not going to see savings right away. You're going to see savings over the course of 3-4 months. You're going to see savings over 6 months. You're going to see savings over a longer period of time. So it's not like an instant thing. Darren starts and we immediately cut the budget in half. Like that's
no, I wasn't expecting that.
No, I know, but it will take time. But we are on the right track.
Okay, thank you.
I'm confident that we're on the right track.
Yeah, we've implemented some stuff. Anything that now that's going out, I'm going to approve it, and anything above that, if we need, I'll be talking to Katie. So nothing's getting purchased without my knowledge, or up to Katie's, on depending on the dollar amounts. And every invoice that comes in, I will be looking, and so we're probably tracking them in the right fund, so we can really stay on it, monthly, where we're at, where we're going, and where we can cut. So, no, I appreciate the comments.
Thank you for
Well, and I think also, you're smart hiring the part-time people that have these services that we can do in-house rather than pay to have it out. So I really think we're on the right track, and I really think by this time next year, hopefully we'll all be pleasantly surprised of the changes that we've implemented and made, and the savings that we really find.
Yeah, it just takes a little time, but like I say, if there's questions and you don't know, I'm always open to answer what we're doing, but, so yeah, anytime that.
And I should say maybe that now would be a good time, something that I've started to do with a few of our larger departments, like Phil. And Darren, I've started meeting with them every month to go over their revenues and expenses. Answer any questions. Did I make a mistake? Part of what Darren was talking about with coding his own invoices, that helps me because it's less responsibility on me to know where he wants, all of his invoices coded to. So that's not to say I'm not going to make a mistake, but it's just kind of a checks and balances thing, and you can see like, oh, we were really high in overtime this month. Why? Do we know why? Does it make sense? That kind of thing. So we are looking at it a little more closely than we have in the past. So, and that's across most of our departments.
And we're very open back and forth on
Yep.
things. I mean, we're in constant contact, and I know Phil is
Yep.
as well. And so this is what we're looking at. This is what, like now, maybe some air conditioning issues we're having.
Yep.
We're going to try to, get those all handled. So it's pretty constant, communication.
Yep.
So
Okay, thank
hopefully
you.
we're getting where we need to be. But like I said, I have the same concerns you do.
Thank you, sir.
Not only for you, Walter, but for all the council members, if you want to know what's going on with any committee, just ask Katie to be informed that there is a meeting and what it's about. And it could be any of the other committees also. I mean, that's always open to all of you. We may not be able to go to it because it would create a quorum problem, but just ask on any of the committees that you want to be informed when they're meeting and what their discussion is. You have the right to ask and find out what it is. That's no problem. The problem is if you go, then it's a quorum, and they would have to close, they'd have to stop the meeting because you have to post it if you're gonna have a quorum.
So I did talk to Katie, and she did give me some information on her Monday. I just didn't realize that it was going to be on the agenda this week, so.
And I just thought about it
Okay.
this morning as I was driving here that I
Okay.
didn't put it on there, so.
But on any of the committees, just ask. Okay, no problem with any of that. Okay, so we're at the point of, if there's any further discussion, do I have a motion to give Katie the okay on posting this position? Part-time?
I'll move to make that motion to hire the part-time position.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will work with Darren on this job description and email it out to everybody, maybe like a week or a couple days before I post it, just so you guys know.
Fine, thank you. Moving on to 6F. Resolution 20.07.01.
Oh, sorry, this is me. This is a resolution for election judges for the primary election on August 11th. And with that, I have July 28th through August 11th is the filing period for those of you who are interested in for re-election.
State that again.
July 28th through August 11th. So I'm just letting everybody know because it's going to be the last.
Who's up?
I think Greg, you're up, right? You, Chris.
Oh, I'm
Yep. And
Ted's
Yeah.
every 2 years, aren't you, Ted?
because you guys were last. Yeah. So
That final date was August.
August 28th through, July 28th through August 11th.
Will that go out into the papers and into the community?
Yes.
I think we have to post it.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So we are looking for a motion to approve the election, appoint the election judges on resolution 20.07.01.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then the second item for everyone, July 28th through August 11th, whoever wants to sign up to run for city council or mayor, that's when you come in.
Bring your
to
$2.
Katie with $2 to sign up.
That was nice.
Moving on to 6G, this is ATV complaints. And this one I'll talk about because a lot of the complaints came to me. I know Katie, you have had some complaints also. Guile has had some complaints down at the arena. Phil, are you getting any?
I am not. I think you guys are taking it for me, so thank you.
And also complaints up on, this would be Lake Shore South up by the prison. And this is nothing new. This is continuous. The arena, I'll talk about that first. Now, even though we don't have as many activities going on there, we still have the farmers market. And excuse me, we don't have the other activities that are going on because of this COVID thing, but he has constantly ATVs racing down through there. And even though they're all posted, they still cut across the parking lot. They still cut down towards the other stores where it's all posted. And it's just constant. His last complaint that he got was 2 kids almost got hit by the ATVs racing through there. And they went to him with the complaint because he's the arena manager. The farmers market have talked to me about the dust and the number of ATVs coming through with different people walking, trying to walk across the street to the farmers market. I would like to close that road to ATVs. That's under question. We have entrances at, they come in on every highway coming into the city. On 73, 61. All the directions. I don't see why we have to keep that open. What's the purpose?
The hockey rink road?
Yeah.
Well, how are they gonna get up to the trail there? They'll have to drive through town.
There's a lot of them do. I mean,
Yeah, I know a lot of them do, but you'd have to go all the way through town up, and how would you get up then Sioux Hill to?
27, they drive right down the middle of the street.
They were right down 73. I'm like, well, I'll talk about
Yeah, I
Fifth
know.
Street.
I know, but to get up, you'd have to go then up Sioux Hill to the depot to get on that trail to go that way or that way, so I'm like,
Well, there's a trail behind the stores there. I know they access it at Co-op gas station, Holiday gas station. There's a access there. They go behind all those stores.
I don't think you can get up that bridge.
That holiday one, that bridge is getting pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think you can get up there. I mean, I agree with you, but I don't know if the solution is to send them through town to other businesses.
They're going down.
Well, I know they're going now, but they're also going that way. I just don't know if that's the solution to send them through the more dense part of town.
So there is a trail that goes from like the grocery store to where the hockey rink road ends at. But that trail is so rocky and so bad and so full of mud that they don't want to use that trail. So
Is it behind it?
well, it like follows the old railroad grade, the tar one now. But there's a trail down in there and most people don't like to use it. It's kind of like there's a trail from Coffee Lake.
Because
in front
ATVs
of-
destroy the
in front of
area.
campers. And but that trail is also so rocky and so rough that the people don't want to use it, so they just go up under the road and make it easier for them.
Okay, well, I threw that out. I'm gonna go on to the next one. And this is Fifth Street. And from the trail, for 73 and the trail where it crosses and goes to the depot, there's a small trail they can get onto. It's all dirt. It kind of curves back on itself to Fifth Street, and you go down Fifth Street, and you end up right by the implement down there. I'm requesting to close that also. I get complaints from the houses that live right next to that trail with dust constantly all weekend long. And we know how dry it has been. It's extremely dry. So you get clouds of dust all weekend long from ATVs. I've had complaints of them. Once they get off the dirt, then they take off, get to the first stop sign, and I watch them from my deck. They don't even stop. They do a rolling kind of quick look. They don't even stop, and they just head straight down the hill. It doesn't matter if church is on or not. They still loud as can be and take off, which is unfortunate because they ruin it for the people that do follow the law. And there are those that will do the speed limit. They're courteous to the people that live there with the dust and stuff, so they slow down. But you still have a problem with the ones that don't, and you have this dust clouds, and those people complain to me. And this is not the first time. This was 15 years ago I brought this up. I brought it up 10 years ago. I brought it up 5 years ago to close that Fifth Street. So I'm asking again, the fourth time, to close that trail, designated trail down Fifth Street there. It's like half go down 73 and they disperse on the industrial road. They either go to the south or to the, I guess you can call it north, but it's not fully north on the industrial road. So they have full access on 73. So what's the purpose of it on the Fifth Street when it's going through a residential?
I could see shutting down that one. I've always felt that the best access from the trail into town would be down the North Road. It has the least amount of people living along it.
And it goes right down to the implement.
It goes right down to the implement, and there is a trail already, just one made from people driving on there. Hasn't been a developed trail, but there is a trail that is along there, and there are far less people that are living in that area. So I would think that if you close down Fifth Street, you could open up the trail on the North Road, have them use 27, and then they're also entering town, like down there on the north end of town, where there's that little trail that goes up to the bridge to get onto the one that goes over there. There are people that are using that to come into town, which they're not supposed to, but there is no sign that says no ATVs on that end of the trail where you go over the bridge over 61, you can take a left, but there's no sign up there, at least at last I looked, that tells them not to go down there. So they go down there, and then they're kind of like there by my brother's shop and on that industrial road, and then they take that industrial road into town too. And from the way that I've seen, they're not supposed to be doing that, but if we put a sign there, and then maybe if we put some other signs on the North Road and then on 27, we could.
We have another access from the campground. They go behind the
there is their own
field and then down the Little League Road to the trails, the Sioux Line trails. And I never heard a complaint on that one. It allows the campground people to access the Sioux Line, and then from the Sioux Line, they go all over the place. They can hook up to everything.
It's definitely a delicate situation. Some people want it, some people don't. I'd like to find the medium, some agreement that we could do here. I have been keeping track this spring on how busy the stores are, and the co-op and the Holiday have been doing tremendous business on the weekends. Sometimes they must get 100 wheelers in there on some of these weekends, and then there's quite a few going to Port Gary's and the restaurants. And I've even had them show up to go to the movie theater here 3 times this year so far, which I was surprised. I hadn't had them come to the movie theater yet, at least on their machines, but they've been coming on their machines. So I think that it is doing quite a bit of revenue in town here, and I would hate to see us losing that revenue, especially during this down economic time. But definitely, if you're living up there on Fifth Street and you got these people racing through, I would not personally want to be living up there and have to deal with that with the dust. So I think that there's they definitely have reasoning to be asking to have that shut down. The hardest one to fix, I think, is the one down there by the hockey rink. How to.
I've got one more to talk about before we go.
Okay.
This is the Lake Shore South. There's an individual here. If you want to speak about it,
Hey, you got any questions about it? I'll tell you right now.
can you come up to the podium? Thank you.
Saturday, my name's Al Schmaley, by the way. I'm up on 912 Lakeshore Drive. Saturday, there was 4 side-by-sides racing down Lakeshore. Side-by-side, side-by-sides. About 20 minutes later, here comes 6 more 4-wheelers doing the same thing. This has been going on ever since we made a trail up there. And I've asked previously with law enforcement to do extra patrols out there, and they have. But they can't be there all the time. So I've talked to DNR. And unfortunately, a few years ago, Moose Lake opened up all the streets to ABT travel, meaning everything. Snowmobiles, 4-wheelers, side-by-sides, you name it, they got it. The DNR says, hey, we're just using it. We're not going to close it down, because they took them out of the ditch along 27, 73, whatever number you want to give it, coming off the interstate. They took them out of the ditches when they redid the roads and put them filtration areas. So I'm stuck with it. The only thing is to slow them down. And that's, I had a couple signs made up. I'm going to try to post them somewhere. That was one of the questions here is, there's several posts down at the entrance where 289 and Lakeshore meet. I'd love to put it there, but I'm stuck with that city property or state property. I'm not sure who. So do I get the approval from you guys? Do I get it from the state? And where the trail comes in from the south side there, it jumps up on the pavement and comes down towards my house and past Kingdom Hall there. There's 2 or 3 light poles or power poles there that would really work nice to put one of these here, because they got to slow down, I would think, to come up on that pavement. Again, do I have permission to do this or not? I don't know. But I need them to slow down, plain and simple. I've ran a bunch of things through with the mayor. I've talked to the police chief here too. Slow them down. I gotta slow them down. I mean, DNR is going to pass it on to their COs. Darren said he'd pass it on to the COs. But you gotta slow them down.
I wonder if there's a way for the city to put up their own signs, their own slow down signs up there, or something along that lines. I mean, you as a private citizen don't have the right to go put up a sign wherever you want, but that'd be all based off of the sign ordinance and that. But
I have these made. I'm putting them up somewhere.
okay.
Even if I have to put them on my property. The bad thing is I'm in.
If you have permission by any of the owners up there to put it on their property, you can do that.
I'm thinking I could.
Yeah. Yes, Greg, you have a question.
Okay, is there an official speed limit for the 4-wheelers that when they're on a city street that they can travel?
They have to follow the same speed limit laws as
So
in
they-
the car.
Depends on your ordinance too.
Some trails are posted too.
City ordinance says.
City ordinance says 20 miles an hour.
City streets.
Yeah, that's what I thought, it was 20 miles an hour.
But I guarantee you, them side-by-sides, Not even close to that 20.
Well, they're having somewhat of the same problem down on the frontage road that's down by the Moosehorn River on the south side of there. There's a lady there that has put up her own signs on her own property saying, slow down and that, but I know that they have had that complaint too. They're coming up out of the ditch there by going past Gappers that way, which I said, there is a trail down below there to use, but it's so bad that the people don't want to use it, so they go up onto the freeway instead, because of a lot of rocks and whatnot. But yeah, I'm definitely glad that you've come here to share your complaints with you, and they're legitimate complaints. And we need to do something to make this area livable for everyone. Like I said, I'd like to find a compromise, because I don't want to see the revenue lost. I also do not want to see our residents suffering by going too fast. And it's also noise. There's some of them that come in here without pipes on their vehicles, and that seems to irritate a lot of people too. And I was wondering if they are violating noise ordinance law, what we have for noise ordinance laws in town.
It's really tough, because if you look at the statute on it, it just says any loud cracking or popping sounds. Well, every Harley Davidson that's out here is that, but they have such a big lobby group that it's fine, and it's really hard to get any prosecution because of the way the statute is written. You'd have to try to get into some type of decibel meter and reading all of that, and it's still not defined, so it's really just a tough thing to enforce. As far as the ATVs, the DNR people would know that more. Obviously, if we had a car and they bypassed the exhaust and had straight pipes, we would enforce, that kind of stuff. But I know what you're talking about on the loud pipes and stuff like that.
Another problem, if there's a complaint, by the time you get there, the ATVs are long gone.
Right.
And it's that same with, I've ran into that over and over again with complaints that come to me. They're gone already. Where are you gonna find them? And you don't have a vehicle yourself that's gonna run down the trail to find who they are, even if you could.
Right.
So it is a big problem.
And I can work with the DNR, and because they were here last weekend doing some enforcement. They were on the water for a little bit, and then they went out on the ATVs, and it was kind of a deadly weekend for ATVs. So we definitely don't want that here. So we can get some enforcement in there. And I agree with the thing here is we want to welcome the ATVs in the business, but they've got to follow the laws set here. So it's good for everybody. So between you and part of it, Katie and I were looking. Okay, now if it's on a state part, where 289 comes into that, and their setbacks, you can't put anything on a power pole, you can't put anything on their streetlight pole. So, but I agree that it should be a somewhat permanent sign that's through the city or something to that effect that's on there.
Well, I know all the coming in from where you're talking about that dirt trail that comes behind the prison there when you get onto the road. Yeah, that would all be state property there. So, and as far as driving on the city streets, I recall that you had to take the most direct route to the trail. It's not like you could just drive willy-nilly all over every single street. I live on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and First Street, and believe me, they come up Lakeshore Drive and they take one swoop, then go down First Street to the park. So I do understand your concern. Luckily, I'm not on a dirt road, but again, it's, the safety and residential peacefulness and
I have a suggestion. I want to go farther because I've brought this up so many times through the years. I asked Phil to look for portable speed bump, and you guys should have that on your desk. These could be put down in the spring and taken up in the fall because of the concern of snow plowing concerns. This would be something that I think would slow them down on Lakeshore South, strategically placed. The same thing maybe down by the arena. I feel you could talk about that. I don't know how that affects you guys coming in and out, but it's more of a concern to the public that's down there at the time.
that's something we could probably use, like, let's say we know a farmer's market's coming on the weekend, and we drop it out close to where they're gonna be, you know, or something like that, so that we have that in place there. I mean, if it's gonna be like a problem for you guys going in and out during the week all the time, it's something you can just pull out of the way, but, I mean, they definitely slow people down.
My other concern with placing them on Earl Ellens is then the ATVs are just gonna go around into the arena parking lot, which is exactly what Dial doesn't want.
But they're posted, no ATVs, even though they,
Well,
you know, I don't know, we have to keep trying to post them and trying to slow them down.
I just don't know how many more signs. I know there's at least 4 signs down there.
At one point, there was 14.
There was, yeah, and it's just like at some point, too much is too much signs.
Yeah, we'll just have to start going and enforcing it, you know, because I think it's been always, before I got here, that it was allowed to happen, you know, and it's just getting left too much, that too much is going on. I mean, it's not to say that they have to have citation, but we need to be getting the message.
So these are 2
I
inches
think,
tall.
I think if you citation.
These are 2 inches high.
How tall are these?
2 inches.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be not to use them, because if you think they're going fast now, and you think they're going fast now, give them a 2-inch jump, they're gonna be going really fast.
I talked about that, I discussed that.
Yeah, I would not put that up.
You know, they work well down in the park.
They work well for cars. They work well for cars, but you wanna see them going fast through town,
Well,
put that down.
maybe on Saturday mornings, you have an officer kind of just plop down on Earl Ellens there on the corner and,
Hit these hot areas, you know, and let's just get the
Just, you know,
message out for the
during the-
weekend right away that, you know, you still come in, but
Or shut the road down with a gate up on the top or something like that too for the weekend or something, I don't know. But you don't want somebody running into the gate too, so it'd have to be well marked, but.
well, my feeling is though, is you're shutting that down and you're sending, with the weekends as busy as they are during the summer months, and you're sending then more of those machines down the main drag, I think that just becomes a real safety hazard. I mean, there's plenty that go down there now, but to start sending all of them down there?
Some of them are road legal.
Well, the side-by-sides are
Yeah.
licensed and road legal.
That's part of the problem.
But I think it's more probably the four-wheelers that are, is that, are you thinking
I've seen both.
or?
It's both. The biggest speeders are the side-by-sides, actually.
Yeah, they're getting more and more popular. They're starting to buy those more than the regular four-wheelers now.
We have a gentleman who wants to speak, please.
I think I know everybody. I'm Kerry Peterson, County Commissioner, but it sounds like a broken record. I'm talking here because I get a lot of phone calls too about the Sioux line and Sioux, you know, the Sioux pits over there. And Greg Renew is really working on this. You know, he's our head of the land department, and we're looking at updating our ordinances, and I think he's put up new speed, new signs in that area.
Yes.
And so we are working with the DNR, and I think we all need to collaborate on this and all work together, because I think, you know, we need to get some citations, you know, if the word gets around that, you know, we gotta do this stuff. We had 2 people in Carlton County that got killed last weekend. But I think if you talk with Greg, you know, he's exploring, we're looking at all different kinds of ideas. We had a public hearing that I think our last county board meeting, and, you know, some people mostly came there and talked. But I think the big thing, let's all work together to see if we can, you know, find a solution. At the same time, we want, most of the time, you know, 95% of these people are really good people, but you always got that small little percentage that kind of wreck it for everybody. So that's just my 2 cents. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your input. Well, I guess everybody has the facts. Still, I'm requesting that on 5th Street, through that residential area with all the dust and the problems we've had year after year with ATVs coming down, that So I'm presenting that to the council. Any of these other action items, that's up to you with the motion.
I have a question. Is that a designated trail or is that
It
a
is a
trail that
designated
somebody
trail.
just created?
No, it was designated.
It's on the maps.
Yep.
And I don't know if the North Road was on the maps, but if we wanted to replace that trail with the North Road on the map,
They
I
can
think that would work.
They have they can utilize that now.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't know if it was on the map or not.
We could definitely put it on the map. if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
I don't think that your street is needed to be accessed. I think it could be eliminated.
They got 73 and they got North Road. They can all get to, and I know why it was there because of the business down at the bottom of the hill. And I understand that.
You can't legally ride on 73. A state highway,
Right now-
even the side-by-sides, you can't legally ride
Right
on
now,
a
if you look at
state
it,
highway.
you would see that half the traffic going down that on the weekends, let's say ATVs, between 5th Street and 73, it's half and half.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, it's still illegal, so I wouldn't want to tell, as a city, tell them to use that. We'd have to say, go
Go
down
North
here
Road.
and go down North Road. I don't want to be encouraging people to ride on something that
Well, I
is
agree.
illegal.
I mean, that
So,
was not the intent of.
however we
Yeah.
do it, just make sure that we're giving them, we're not pointing them to something that they're gonna end up getting a ticket for, because that isn't.
Believe me, I've never seen anyone give a ticket to them in 15 years.
That can change.
They go down, they go down. They go down it every weekend or daily too.
Darren,
I see them
can
daily.
the side-by-sides legally go on 73 then?
Well, it's, the state highway, I think, overrides,
Okay.
like the city street. So, at least in,
I think,
making it with for the enforcement part of it. So, I mean, all the other streets too, they still gotta have, the turn signals and all that kind of stuff or, to be on there, but, like, the mayor said, if we can just redirect it, clearly on another way down there, yeah, I don't think they need to be going through. The more we can channel them to the areas we want them, probably the better. So if you can close off some areas and however you want to work it out, we can help in any way with enforcement and stuff like that, whether it's signage and then, city crews decide how we're going to close these up or get some, if they're on the current maps, we should probably have some things posted really good on where to go. But yeah, we definitely, and we will hit it right away, some of the enforcement on that.
And to me, okay, when you make a change like this, if the council approves this, we could set a date when that would take effect. It could be next spring, so that the ATV group, whoever that run the whole thing, that make up the trails, have time to take down those postings. They got signs all over, and also make the new trail maps. I think that people up there would understand that, to give them time to make the changes on their maps. At a certain date, it could be April 1st, this is closed, and all the signage by then could be taken down, and it could be blocked off at first with police tape or something, just so they know it's no longer accessible. To me, that would satisfy them. They know that, to make a change just like that probably isn't a good idea. Somebody will get hurt, somebody will go in an area where they shouldn't be and get in trouble, or, to me, that'd be a smart way to do it, as long as it is well communicated and maps are remade and.
can I ask you this, do you have problems with snowmobiles coming out the trail and going down that way?
Not necessarily. They seem to stay in Munger. I see some that will cut across that land. It's owned by Rick Lewis. They won't follow the trail anymore. They just cut right across his property and go down 5th Street. They don't necessarily follow the coastal trail and just cut across his land and go down, but very few. A couple times a winter, it seems like people, when it's that much snow, they stick to the street to go wherever they're going, or they, or they just don't ride them like they do. Yes, sir.
Are you proposing from 5th and Fir up to where the trail is there? That section?
Right at where it leaves the trail all the way down to Industrial Road.
Right, okay. Yep.
I'd make a motion to close that trail down until springtime, April 1st, if you think that would be a good day.
Contact the ATV.
Are you saying until then, or close it on April 1st?
Close it on April 1st, like you said, to give the people the chance to change the maps. And
It's already out there this summer. We're already in the middle of July. We got another rest of the summer. The maps are already there and stuff. I understand that. That gives them time to make the change and advertise that it's closed.
Maybe shot.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions, discussion?
I would just say under discussion, we need to make sure that the implement and other places are well aware of this and get their input of what would be the best alternative. I know I don't want to be blindsided by something like this. So that'd be my answer.
This will give them 6 months to figure it out.
Yeah, I would just say we should notify them of that upcoming change.
Well, I think Jim and or his brother were,
Jim was part of the ATV.
at one
Yeah.
time, I think he was the president of it.
There's so many people that come up as well. I'd like to see them on, if they're going to come through the city, I'd like to see them on industrial more than anything, because that's what it's designed for, is that traffic of industrial trucks and things of that nature.
All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. It doesn't solve your problem on the lake shore. I think the posting your signs, because we did the same thing up there to try to slow them down. We just had the neighbors of Mayhem, and we had to put in Rick Luce's yard. It did help. Some people actually will honor them, and others, they just don't. And if nobody thinks this is a good idea, I thought maybe that would help slow them down, but I don't know.
It would slow some people down, but like you said, Doug said, yeah, they're gonna find a way to make it a good time with it too, but hey, it only takes one accident.
I know. It's usually a youth, and that's what we don't want.
Yeah, I agree.
Then to pump out the arena, just doesn't sound like those signs are gonna do any good there.
Well, I would like to see just to start with maybe an officer down there Saturday mornings, just sitting there to kind of,
In the afternoon,
So-
when they start coming back up the trail.
when, yeah.
We'll
when-
just
Coming out
coordinate
of the
things
bars.
with the DNR. We'll get a hold of them. They can bring their ATVs, and we'll come try and hit some of those spots and get the messages out early that will be there. And
Especially during the farmer's market.
yep, anywhere there's concern for ATV traffic, we'll get that out.
Thank you.
I have one suggestion of all those cameras that were installed. I know there is one down at the arena. I don't know if that's one that's a non-working camera, but wouldn't it make sense to, because if I understand correctly, you're able to pull those cameras all up at the police station?
Correct.
So what if you would push, have those cameras working, number one, but push the idea that, the cameras are going, because it seems like, having a sign that, making them aware at least that there's cameras might be as good as anything too. And I know there is one I think facing that direction at the arena, that might be one that's not working, but probably should be. I mean, they paid for having the cameras there. I don't know what, you know, and it probably some of those other areas too, because there's what, 20 cameras? How many cameras got installed all around town?
There's quite a few.
So, you know, getting those working, because I mean, if it push came to shove, I mean, you should be able to use that footage too, but I think that would probably detour, say, hey, you know, this is the thing, because I know when I kind of was cruising through, you know, because it's hooked up the same way as its console camera as far as all the list of cameras, and there's a lot of them there, but I know the arena one in the past was not working quite right.
I think they got most of them up and running.
Up and running?
Yeah, they were on today and, you know,
Yeah.
and if nothing else, even if we're in the PD and we see a group coming through or a lot.
Well, that's what I'm
Just get out
saying,
there
yeah, and in the signage, I would push about the cameras being there. You know, because, I mean, that, like I say, that could detour too, because it seems like that definitely helps in areas where, security-wise, if you say, you know, you're on camera. Just a suggestion.
Yeah. Could be a sign at coming right off the trail that.
Especially if
you're on
they,
video.
at the.
Slow down, you're on video.
Exactly.
Yep.
And really, some of those remote areas, I mean, you could technically put a trail cam. I mean, trail cams, there are, even to shoot video, I mean, trail cams are pretty advanced right now that, I mean, you could even, where there isn't a, quote, city camera setup right now, I mean, you could definitely, if there was some of those problem areas, I mean.
Don't you think the DNR has trail cams?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have.
I mean, it's up on the enforcement side of it is you really can't take much enforcement action because you never prove who the driver is. So if you were gonna do something like that, but it'll let us know where the hot spots are, what time of day they're coming through, you know, whether it's the late night ones that are, you know, we could narrow some things down.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on, 6H, water in the park, Walter?
Yeah, I had an individual contact me from town here, and he was wondering why the water in the park was shut off. And I've been informed because it was people have taken large quantities of water down there over the years. But we used to have water in 4 locations down at the park. One by the pavilion, and then there was a drinking fountain, and then there was 2 spigots by the gazebo and by the playground area. And I don't know, for my whole life, I've seen people go down there and take water. Some of them have taken, you know, filled up jugs and stuff like that. And I didn't see that we had a problem with it before. Some of those people are the less unfortunate people. Some of them that don't have water, running water, whether they don't have a well or their well's broke down. I do understand the concern of somebody going down there and taking very large quantities of water. But for people that just go down in the park and just want to be able to get a drink of water or wash their feet off after they've gone swimming or washing off their toys from the beach, that's what this guy's concern was. He likes to wash off his kids' feet before they get in the car and their toys and stuff like that. And then just for people just having barbecues, cooking down there, if they want to get some cooking water or some water to wash their dishes afterwards, people need to be able to have some kind of water access down in there in the park. You know, and I just don't see why we have to shut off the water completely in the park. I would like to see a couple of those spigots turned back on so people can have access to the water down there. And if they could maybe come up with some kind of sign to put on the spigots that would just say for park use only or no large quantities. I realize that would be a problem to be supervising that, but you just have to rely on the goodness of people of not going down there and taking a whole bunch of water. So I just wanted to bring that to the council's attention and see what people's thoughts were about getting some water back on down in the park.
Only the park board's aware that they're shut off. They should be turned off.
I guess I was never aware they were shut off.
So they were shut off.
Are they supposed to be off because of the virus too, or not?
I guess I don't know.
I mean, that would be a question, because most drinking fountain stuff, they're shut off because of the
Well,
virus.
our drinking fountain's out of order down there, so it's just mostly a couple spigots I'd like to see.
No wonder, you know.
That that drinking fountain, that thing doesn't work anymore, does it?
And I would be fine, we could easily turn it back on and we could basically plug off a few of those spigots. But I want to know an answer right now, how do you want me to go about this when I see the 4 pickup trucks with tanks in the back of them getting bulk water?
If there's,
How do you want me to go about that?
there's
is my question.
seriously guys with tanks.
I was getting 3 to 5 calls a week. If it was just a little bit, I wouldn't have shut it off.
You're gonna have to shut them down, we're gonna have to tell somebody that's working down there in the park, or if the police officer goes by there and sees that, or just somebody within the city, Public Waterworks, we're gonna have to tell them, no, you know, this is for city or park visitors only, and for small amounts of water, and if you do want a lot of water like that, you could tell them, you know, I don't know if the Holiday is allowing them to take that much water or
So
not.
I love it when they go to Holiday, because we get to bill Holiday for water. I love it, it's great.
Yeah.
We have a bulk water sales built into our fee schedule, and it's wonderful. And we do it all the time at the shop. You can come on down.
Contractors or?
Yeah, at the city route it is, yeah, for the most part. It's all
Not the-
bulk.
But I mean, the ones at the
Stealing
park,
water,
were those
no.
contractors?
No, I think they were some people with some remote cabins. They were not from,
Oh.
they weren't even from Moose Lake Township anymore.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
Well, is there some way you can issue them a ticket for that?
There's nothing, if you don't have a city ordinance regulating it or some type of state statute regarding it, there's probably nothing we can really do. If you want to post it and say a 2-gallon minimum, you know, or something like that, that might be something we can go and talk to them about. But if we don't get something passed into the city ordinance about it, there's really nothing we can enforce.
so it'd be very simple to turn a couple of them back on, and that's no problem. But I guarantee you, we will be right back to the same situation. And I mean, I know it might be just a little water, but at the end of the day, we make money on water, and that's the city's money. And if
Yeah,
I'm in charge of that department, I want to be as due diligent to it as possible.
Can you put 1 gallon a minute restrictors on them?
Boy, you know, we could put a pressure reducing valve on it.
They make those ones that just squirt out a little bit for to wash the kids' feet.
Well, they do, just
Yeah,
an
just the-
adapter
yeah,
that goes on.
They turn it on, but then if you could put like a set screw or something.
Yeah,
that
pressure
person
relief
can
valve, we easily
have
could
on
do.
there.
So I mean, they aren't gonna take 500 gallons if they gotta
Yeah, we
wait
know.
500 minutes.
And if they do, we're gonna catch them. I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was going
I mean,
on.
they used to do that up at the depot. They'd come in and they'd hook up the thing and they'd
Yeah.
put 400 or 500 gallons of water.
Yeah.
So that's what you did, you put on.
We just shut that faucet off.
Just like we did in the campground or the park. Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, how many would we like to see come back on? Because we can, I'd be just fine with
You
it.
know, they should be on all of them. That
Can-
old water, the drinking fountain probably should not be put up, especially because of COVID-19 right now.
Is there one closest to the beach? Because it sounds like that's the main.
We'll have to look. I'm sure we can get the one that's closest to the beach. Is it just one of them?
By the,
Playground.
The playground.
there's the one by the playground, and there's one a little bit closer towards the entrance.
Okay.
And then there's a spigot over by the pavilion.
Right, so I'll say this, I just bought a half-inch BRV reducing valve this Tuesday, actually, and it was $262. So I mean, I'm fine with this, but if we want to go do all 6 or 8, we don't want to spend $1,200-1,400 on BRV valves. So I would recommend maybe one,
Maybe
Maybe two,
strategically
whatever.
placed so they're spread apart, so different parts of the park. can
Yep,
get
for
those
sure.
covered.
So I mean, if you tell me how many you want on, and we can just kind of do some easy math, figure it out, and we can have them on probably by the middle of next
Well,
week.
can't you do a section, put the restrictor in one of the main lines, go into a section and just.
We could excavate it up and get a big one if you want, but I don't think that's in anybody's interest, no.
I think if you turn the one over by the pavilion and the one in the playground, that would be,
By the pavilion and
because the
playground.
people could walk from band shelter up to the playground or across the street from the,
Yeah.
what do you call that? The bingo place, over by the pavilion, I think.
For
That
sure.
would,
So
those two would be
would
that
be
most
probably that make
accessible.
sense, yeah. Just
So by
those
the
two.
band shell and by,
No, by the playground and then over by the,
That
if
middle.
I'm thinking the brown pavilion over there?
Pavilion,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's
There's
one
one
there, too.
there, I remember.
sure. Yeah, we can definitely do that. That's not a problem at all. Yep. This was actually the first complaint that I got about it not being on.
I didn't
Well,
go
there
there.
was just one individual.
Nope, and that's totally fine. Yep, absolutely. That's not a problem.
You probably saved us a lot of money since you did it.
I know we have, because for what, I mean, the checks we're bringing in now for the little bit of water we sell, it's, people, they'll buy water. They
Yeah.
will, definitely.
Yep.
It's actually pretty impressive, so.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Walter. Let's see, I think that's the last item on new business. Moving on to reports and correspondence. I have none. Katie, do you have anything? Very good. Moving on to committee and board meeting minutes. We have the June 17, 2020 Planning Commission and the May 13th. No, we put those, didn't we?
Yep.
We only have the one. June 17, 2020 Planning Commission. Announcements, the regular Moose Lake City Council meeting Wednesday, August 12th, 2020, 4 p.m. right here. Moose Lake Economic Development Authority, Wednesday, July 15, 2020, 12 p.m. in the City Conference Room. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission, regular meeting Tuesday, July 21st, 2020, 3 p.m. in the Water and Light Office. Moose Lake Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board, Monday, July 13, 2020, 11 a.m., Hillside Manor Office. Moose Lake Area Fire District, Tuesday, July 14, 2020, 6:30 p.m., Emergency Response Center. Moose Lake Park Board meeting, Monday, August 3rd, 2020, 6:30 p.m. at the City Council chamber right here. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.